Hi, my name is Mark Anthony Dubose Jr. I was born July 4th, 1986, and I want to say thank you for tuning in. And thank you again. 'Cause I'm going to talk about something today that I heard a guy talk that I like listening to, that he don't talk nothing about no dog stuff, just talking human, like, evolution, I'll say, in the sense of how we're here, why we're here, and what's going on with everything that's going on around us that seems to be deceptive and seems to be just like weird. Like there's no answers for it. There's no definite, this is what it is. And that's what's kind of cool about this life, because nothing in reality, as far as like where we came from, is like 100% proven. So it's always fascinating to hear people's theories and ideas. But in the video that he's just made, it really got me thinking, because he said something that kind of goes along the lines of this book right here. I want to talk about this book for a half a second. It's about behaviorism, B.F. Skinner. For me, it's not that hard of a read, but that's because I've gone to the dog school that like drilled in us a lot of terms in this book that if you don't understand them, you're not going to understand it. Like literally they can say one word and it means something that if you don't understand what that one word means, you're not going to get it. So you kind of got to read it, and you hit that point that you're like, I don't know what this means. You can't just skip up on it and just keep going. You got to research every key word that you're like, I'm not sure. That's what's kind of cool about the dog school, I guess I could say, is we went deep into all of these terms, all this stuff. It's just kind of, it's not my style of wanting to learn, but it was forced upon me, and I forced myself through it. And then when I got away from the said force of having to learn it, I started to go into it more on my own. And when I went into it more on my own, I started to find other books and other things and other people talk about the same concepts just in an easier way. But this book is it's a hard read, because I want to say it in a sense of like just the way that I view it. It's a scientific book. It's a scientist writing it in a scientific way for other scientists to be able to easily understand, not for just the average person that, like, say a third and fifth grader. It's going to be a hard read for a fifth grader. And I like all my content to be fifth grader. But there's one huge thing that this guy said that really got to me, that he says, there's only negative and neutral. We don't have positive on these lands. Positive is, say, out of these lands. So if you believe in universe, you believe in something outside of Earth, that's what the positive is. And the negative and the neutral is where we are. And it really got me thinking, because it's the concept of what is positive reinforcement. Positive reinforcement isn't positive. It's getting away from the negative. And getting away from the negative, not even to go into a positive, but just to get to a neutral. That just really got me thinking about this dog training stuff, that we're trying to do positive reinforcements. We're trying to add on to make it to be a good thing. In reality, that's where I think that we're failing, because there's no way to get to a positive sense. We can only get to a neutral sense. We can get to a calm sense. We can get to a indifferent sense. We can get to a place that is just everything. We're just hanging out. Everything is good. Not in this positive that I don't even think that when I heard that, and I've really been thinking heavy on this. Like, I don't think that we can, as humans and animals and anything here, really understand what positive actually truly is. Positive is for me, whatever you believe in, my belief in what I would say is positive is going to be a God, is what Jesus is, what Christ is all about. That's positive. And we want to try to get to positive at some point. I don't know how to make that. All right. People just call me every time I'm making these videos. Someone's trying to FaceTime me right now. I don't know who it is. But we're always trying to get to these positives, as opposed to we just can't get there in this, say, realm with where we are. So if you believe in whatever you believe in, we were evolved from fish and plants and we're here. The initial start of that is what's positive. And all of us now are trying to get back to that sense of positive. But all that we have here is negative and neutral. So when we're trying to get positive, we're trying to get something away from negative. But we can't get to that. So all we can stay at is neutral. And neutral is the stance that we want to stay in. This is where I believe, like, say, doing a lot of this treat training stuff and training with all these things and trying to get dogs like a positively, like, say, influence to do something, that's where you can't possibly do that. You can only get the dog neutral. So you're trying to manipulate the dog in a way to get it into something that is not available. You're trying to force it into something. That's where, for me, why I see that the dogs get pushy. They start to give a lot of push, but they just start to get demanding, because we're trying to make it do something that is incapable of doing. The main thing that we should be focusing on is neutral. Neutral for your own self. Don't think I need to be positive. No, all this stuff is just weird to me when I'm thinking about it. Like books and all this stuff, they talk about positive thinking and think positive and you'll be positive. And being positive really is, in my mind, all I can say on this planet is destructive in reality, because we're not meant to do that. We're meant to be able to just stay calm, stay in a neutral sense. So when we're trying to force this positive, this is where people also go insane. Like, be positive, be positive, be positive. It's impossible. You're going to burn out. You're going to have downfall. You're just not going to make it. You're going to struggle. Something's going to happen that you're going to get absolutely, this is what I see with people, especially when it comes down to the self-help stuff, where they're like, oh, just be positive and everything's going to be good in your life. It's impossible to do that. It's absolutely impossible. All you want to do is just be neutral. And your positive is to get away from the negative that's going on in your life. Don't focus at all about being positive. Be neutral. Be calm. Positive is what I would say is, so for me and my beliefs, it's the purest form of what love represents. It's something that we are striving to be able to get to. But we can't get there, for sure we can't get there, if we're not neutral. We are never going to get there if we are in a negative sense, where we're trying to run away from our negatives. There's no even, why even consider it if you're still living in my opinion, most all of us die on this planet, constantly running away from negative. We never just stay in this perfect blissful calm, where no matter what is going on, this is the calm that I'll say that you have no anger, period, zero. You never frustrated, you're never anxious, you're never depressed, you're never stressed, you're never nothing. You are completely calm to absolutely everything. You are able to consciously be able to freely think things through in a way that is not hurting, damaging, destroying, manipulating, doing anything. You are living a complete, just straight neutral, that nothing affects you, nothing destroys you, nothing messes with your mood. And I believe that that's what we are trying to get on this planet, alive here. But later on, we can get into a positive sense with whatever you believe where you go. But most of us on this planet, we are all living in what I can say is positive, and I just forgot that word for half a second right there. Positive reinforcements, because we're trying to get away from the negative. And thinking that we're going to get to positive. No, you're just using your positive reinforcements to get into a calm stance. That's all that you want to stay in. It's all you want to be in. You don't want to be super excited all the time. Oh, everything's so happy, everything's so fun, smiling, giggling. That's not healthy. You're not going to be able to sustain that. You're going to burn out. You're going to have problems. You're going to fail. But when you're just chill, content, that's another good word to use right there. Content, satisfied, just with what you have, and a neutral stance, that's where we're seeking to get. That's where all I've been noticing with all of my dogs across the board, that's what I see in them, is content, is calm. And it takes a lot to get them to get into this overexcitement. Like if we go and do something that's, say, exciting, like I'll get their flirt pole out and let's get to chasing and having fun. And we do that for that little bit of time so that they have time to be able to recover from that. But when the dog stays in this excitable stance all the time, you're going to have issues because it can't sustain that. It needs to find that base level of calm and is doing its best to get away from any negative experiences. Anything that it's scared of, it's trying to do whatever it can to get out of that, just to get to neutral, to calm. And the calm, we can stay in that day after day after day for foreverness on this planet. That I don't want to say easy, but once you get away from all your negatives and all your fears and all your anger and all your everything, it's easy to stay calm. That's just, you wake up and that's what you are. You go to sleep, that's just what you are. That's what I see in my dogs all the time, everywhere, every day, every moment. Especially the main thing that I'm seeing is with this Dalmatian, that sometimes I look at her, I'm like, man, you're just not like jumping in and going wild much at all anymore. And I'm looking at that in the sense sometimes is like, are you okay? Like, what's wrong with you? As opposed to her being calm, able to see, able to hang out. I mean, a girl is like, I got the dang dog from chasing things to killing it to now she's just chill. Like, I don't know how to explain it. She's like default straight neutral, calm, like 99% of the day. I don't care what's around anymore. She's just in the world of like just calm. And she's the one dog that I basically, like, I started a little wrong with her up front for like a month or two. I was using my old dog training stuff of you better or else. But once I start to get away from that, I'm seeing a dog that is just straight calm. Not overexcited, because the overexcited, she couldn't deal with that. It creates you and the dog to just keep wanting go and go and go and go and go. This is because I'm looking at a different dog right now that's real interesting. in the sense that these dogs just can't settle in the house. They just always going and always going and always going and always going. And that's the part where I will say exercise is not going to stop that, because they don't know how to calm down. They don't know how to get to neutral. They're staying in this unrealistic sense of positiveness that they're not able to keep up with. And that's where they start biting, barking. They start doing crazy stuff, crazy things they start to do, because they don't know how to just settle and stay calm. And that's where we should be focusing all our time, is calm, not excited. That's where it's weird, because that's what, like, say, treat-based training, like, I don't want to put it as a whole, but that's their main message. Give the dogs the treats, give the dogs the toys, to get them in this, like, hooray, all things fun, all things great. And thinking that excited state, when you see that, is where you want your dog to be. And that's the part where it looks cute. It's good for the dog for short term. Like, even little doses throughout the day, not even throughout the day, throughout the week. Little doses of that, but not a sense of we're doing this all day, all the time. The dog is going to get, it's going to get anxious. It's going to get all these words that most people unfortunately see in your dogs. And I'm trying to figure out why I see all these things. And it makes sense that the dog can't stay in a manipulated sense of positive. It needs to stay in a neutral sense. And it needs to do everything it can to stay in its positive sense for the little bits of time that it needs to get away from the negativeness that's going on in its life. So that's where you're not focused on, I need my dog to be positive. You're focused on getting my dog away from the negative. You're focused on your own self in your own life. How do I get away from the negatives in my life to get to a neutral? And you're going to use your positive to get away from the negative. And you're going to stay in that neutral stance. You're not worried about getting anywhere else but there. You're not trying, you do not, because this is the problem with, like, drugs and alcohol and a lot of these things, because it could force your brain to get into this positive sense. But what always happens, you need more. You always need more. Tell me anyone, and all y'all know, and probably own life experience, because my own life experience proved this for my own self, but I see this in many places with many people. Once you start anything, so for instance, let's go to cigarettes. It's one thing that I don't know what it is about these. It's the vaping thing that kind of gets the young kids hooked on them today. But it's a man, that marketing gimmicks is they're so clever with getting people hooked on these substances. But how many people do you know that started off smoking one cigarette or using one or two puffs from your vape thing once a week, once a month? Usually it's like a once a month type scenario. After time, you start, like, going through one of those cartridge things that I don't even know how I think they last a little bit, but I know some people be buying like 8 of them at a time in a gas station. I'm trying to pick up some stuff. I'm like, gosh, like, how many of those you smoking through? Or just, I know the pack of cigarettes, but most, say, average smoker smokes like a whole pack a day. You didn't start doing it a pack a day. You started off with one a month. You always need more. And then that pack of cigarettes a day, now you're like, now I need alcohol, now I need cocaine, now I need methamphetamines, now I need heroin. It's like you have to add more to it. You just need more and more and more and more, because it's impossible to stay in that heightened arousal state. And once you get into that, you kind of get this, like, this, I guess that's the whole concept of the dopamine and all that, that it forces you to kind of want to stay in that. But it's not where we're supposed to be. That's why people get hooked on certain drugs that are hardcore, that put you in that sense, and they can't get out of it. And you get addicted, you get hooked to it, because it puts you somewhere that, in my mind, just my opinion, we're not supposed to be in that state. That's where a lot of these drugs are like, you good, Oreo? That's where a lot of these drugs are manufactured and like science made. They're not natural from the earth, from the planet, that are putting people in these hallucinated states that are destructive. And once you get there, you're like, I want that again. I want to feel that again. And in my opinion, we'll feel that later on in life. But this life here, alive while we're on this planet, we need to stay in our lane and do what we're supposed to do and stay in that calm sense. That's going to give you a nice, stable, nice, healthy, nice, just being able to have good relationships and being able to, you good, buddy? You sitting here hacking up. You need to run it out? You can go. You ain't jumping on me. Sorry. I see my dog hacking it up over here. I don't know what he's hacking on. He hasn't even been out chewing on nothing. Y'all good? Everybody's good. All right, everybody chill out. We stay in our lane. We're staying in that neutral sense instead of thinking that we need to force ourselves into being in this positive. The only reason that I'm looking at this life much differently at this moment of saving my positive. If you get down, girl. Saving my positive ways that I need to do on this planet to allow me to get away from the negative things in my life and allow me to get away from it in a sense of just being calm, not being in that state that positive reinforcement is making me to get out of the negative. I want to stay in the neutral stance. The neutral stance is where we are as humans, is all that we're supposed to be in. This is where I think that this is where we're struggling as people, because we're thinking that we need to be in this positive place and using positive reinforcements to get to a positive place. That's fake. That's not real. That's not what we're doing here. We can't do that. You're gonna burn out. You're gonna have problems. You're gonna get anxious. You're gonna get depressed. You're gonna get suicidal. You're gonna get depressed. You're gonna get all kinds of craziness going on in your life if that's what you're seeking, as opposed to just seeking content and just being good, happy with what you have. Stop trying to fight so much to keep getting more, because this is why the Bible for me is a very fascinating book. It's got so many fascinating concepts behind it. And that one concept there is like, the more I keep in reality learning about these things, I see more and more and more in that book that just line up with what it is that I keep finding from other places that say science is talking about. But the thing that I believe is a lot of this scientific stuff that we're listening to, we're not listening to it in the sense of what the scientists themselves were actually doing. We're putting it in what we want it to be, as opposed to what they were doing. That's the hardest part, I think, with us, where we're trying to transfer information to each other. I say something to you, you go straight into your thoughts about something. You're not even listening to me anymore. And then you start to put on what you think it is based on what I just said, as opposed to what I just said. What I'm saying in this video right now is positive reinforcement is to get away from negative to get to neutral. Positive reinforcement is not to get to a positive place. It is to get to a neutral place. You want to do everything you can to get out of a negative sense. Negative can be, say, depression. Negative can be anxiety. Negative could be all of these things that negative is something you're scared of. Negative is something that just frightens you so much that you're just like, I can't do this. Negative is I mean, where I live, I got so much stuff out here that a lot of people are just terrified of. Snakes and spiders and skunks and possums and dogs and donkeys. And I got everything out here that could just make everyone so scared. So all that if you're negative, you're scared of, you need to do something positive to get yourself just to a neutral stance that you're just indifferent to it. You don't care. So if you're scared of a dog right now, you want to kind of put yourself around the dog, interact with some dogs, get closer to the dogs, and then get to a sense of, oh, okay, I'm fine with the dogs. You don't want to get to the sense of, woohoo, yeah, dogs are so great. You're not going to be able to sustain that. You're going to fall off at some point, and it's going to devastate you in the end. You're going to have these fake expectations out there, this fake, like, I should feel this way all the time, and you're not going to be able to sustain it. You're going to fall off. And when you fall off, then where do you go? To negative again, because now you're like, oh, look at me. I'm wrong. I suck. I can't follow through with what I say. And you're trying to build into something that is impossible. It's impossible. All you want to do is be indifferent to everything that's going on this planet. If you hear that bombs are going off over there, you should be indifferent to what's going on. If your mom is dying from cancer right now, you should be indifferent. Yes, you should say, I'm sorry, like, can I help you? Can I do something? But you should be indifferent. It shouldn't be to the point that you end your life because someone else's life is ending. That's where we want to get. Negativeness is you're in that sense of, I'm going to say something messed up in a half a second I thought of, but negativeness is you're done. Your parents or your children or something pass away. You are to that point that you're no longer a contributing member to society. You turn to a extreme hermit. You destroy everyone around you. You just go down. You're living in a negative sense. And some people take a death of someone in a positive sense. Yes, thank goodness. They left me a lot of money. They did this. But what always happens to those people, not always, but what always happens to those people, so say the lottery, exactly the same way. Majority of all the lottery winners, they end up back in a negative sense because they're living in a positive that you cannot stay there. You're like, yeah, I could buy this, I could buy this, I could buy this, I can go here, I go here, go here, go here, go here. You're trying to keep all this high going. And when you keep doing that, you keep spending money, you keep doing stuff, you keep experiencing things. And then you just get to this point that nothing's good enough. I need another house. I need another car. I need another boat. I need another vacation. I need more. I need more. I need more. Then you're broke. And then you're so broke to the point that you don't go to a nice calm stance. You go to, man, I'm broke. I can't believe I lost it all. And it could put you in a sense that's just destroy you. Absolutely destroy you. Because now you had it and you were on the top of the world. And now that you got nothing, a lot of those people, they're not willing to even want to participate in life, in the world anymore, because you're playing with something that we shouldn't be playing with. We should be worried about neutral. And that's what I believe that this B.F. Skinner guy is really talking about, on why he's talking about this concept of adding punishment and adding rewards and adding these things in and thinking that you can alter and change something. You can't change it to be something, what I want to say is the opposite of. You can only change things to get to the sense of indifference. Indifference. That's why if you're trying to punish the kid to be indifferent to something, it's like you're working backwards, because now you can. So what's the best thing? Oh, this is perfect. Because what we do with a lot of dogs to get them to stop chasing, excuse me, you put a corrective collar on the dog and you see that the dog is about to engage, the dog takes off and you just yank that thing. So you're punishing the dog from chasing. This is why it's a weird sense that it's not going to work, because you didn't get the dog into a indifferent, calm stance about the situation. You got the dog still further into a negative sense. So now the negative sense, the dog has to do something positive to get out of that negative. So what is positive to the dog in that sense of chasing? The actual pursuit, the actually chase. So that's why you got to punish on crazy punish to try to force them to not do it. But then what starts to happen is they don't become indifferent and calm and neutral with it. They become scared of it. So now that they're scared of it, where is that? Still a negative experience. So the dog needs to do something positive to figure this out. So this is why the dogs just stay in this like dancing around it and always kind of like, I just see this a lot from a lot of people. You say that your dog doesn't chase stuff because you've say trained them not to do such a thing. But I see that it's you always have that something's going to happen. Something is about to just go down. And it's always when you turn your back that they just gone. They absolutely gone. Because I see this all the time with my Johnny man, because he's the one that was trained. You chase, you get punished. None of the other dogs have had that. And none of my other dogs go and chase a single thing out here without me saying, okay, we can chase it. Okay, let's go. Because they're not in the negative sense about it. They're in a neutral stance. They're completely neutral. And then the worst case scenario is they're in that negative, and then they're constantly needing that positive to get out of the negative. So that's why they keep going and going and going and going and going. They keep challenging it. They keep pushing through it. Because you keep putting the dog in that negative sense as opposed to just being there and allowing them to go through these emotions all on their own and allow them to just get through it all on their own. I cannot force. This is the thing that is dog training almost as a whole. You cannot force something to get calm. You have to be it. You have to allow them to go through it. You have to allow them to be able to get past it. This is where so many people, I believe, are just struggling with, say, dog training. The more I keep listening and trying to figure out more about just these lanes on this planet, that we're trying to force things to get into a positive sense, and we can't do that. We can't do that, especially if the dog is already neutral. You got a neutral dog, and now you're trying to use, say, a treat to get the dog to do something more, to get away from something. You're like working so backwards that you're going to force the dog to start to perceive things in the negative light. That's why some of y'all, you take your dog for a walk and it's fine for a while, but then through time, this dog starts to get worse and worse and worse and worse and worse, because you're trying to add extra excitement to something that doesn't need to be exciting. A lot of y'all, you got a dog that is not reactive, is not barking at people and not barking at nothing. And then you start watching videos and you're like, oh, I can get them to say walk better if I give them these treats and do this stuff and do these things. And then you start noticing through time, why is it getting worse? It's getting worse because you're forcing your dog into a positive sense that it shouldn't be in. It just needs to stay neutral. It just needs to be indifferent. And you'll be extremely happy with that. So then you start to force it into this positive, and then what happens with that positive, you start to have to like withhold that dog. This is why the treats lead to more leash pressure. You start with one and then you have to finish with the other, because you force the dog into something that you're like, oh, now you're too jumpy, too wild, too excited, too crazy. Now I need to bring that down again. So then bringing it down is, let me apply some punishment to put a negative in there, thinking that I'm going to get this out. But the thing that happens is you're working backwards. You're working, I don't even use the word backwards. You're working in circles. That's going nowhere, because as soon as you're forcing the dog with the treat, this is where, like in most cases, unfortunately, I just see this. This is why balance training is kind of funny to me at this moment. I never understood it. When you would give a dog a treat and then give a dog a leash correction, this was confusing to me in dog school right away when they were showing me this. You give a dog a treat and then literally 2 seconds later, because it's not doing something, you give the dog leash pressure. I'm like, what? What, like you're cycling here. You're just going in circles. That you're giving the dog something to get it positive, and then instantly you're putting it into a negative sense. You're just swapping those. You're never getting to a neutral stance. You're getting to a stance that is just either crazy or it's like nervous and it's scared. And then when it's scared, what does it need to do to get back to at least neutral? It's just natural and well, I'll just say it like that, evolutionary in us to do something positive to get away from the negative. So you're gonna hit them with that prong collar, and then they're gonna like need something to get excited. They get excited, and then they're too excited. Then you need something to get that excitement back down. You hit them with the prong collar. They go back to the negative. All you're doing is going from negative to positive. You're not getting the middle ground where we need to stay. We need to be in just a neutral stance. It's so interesting on how I just watch my stuff. I watch other people's stuff, and I'm trying to just asking. My go-to method is just asking, praying. Bring the information to me that I need to be able to fill in the gaps of a lot of the information that I say is, why does this work? I don't know why. So I'm trying to be able to fill those gaps in, because I sound real ignorant by saying, hey, do it like this. And then they ask, well, why do it like that? Why is that going to work? And I'm like, I don't know. It just works, though. I can't do that. I have to know a reason why this is working and what's going behind this and the meanings and everything behind why that works. And for me today, why taking a dog that is, say, human reactive, dog reactive, taking a dog and doing absolutely nothing with that dog but holding it on leash, not giving it no treats, not giving it no affection, not eyeballing the dog, not touching the dog, not giving it leash pressure, not doing nothing, but allowing the dog, you stay a little bit of a distance at first and get it closer and closer and closer and closer, and allow the dog to do it on its own. Every dog is going to take a different amount of time. One dog can be 5 minutes and we're good. Everything's fine. He figured it out. He got through all the emotions and he got to a calm, indifferent stance. Other dogs, it can be months. Some dogs, it could be years. And this is just the difference between what we have, and my opinion, is what we need as humans as well to work on to be able to get us where we need to be. A lot of us think, I just change overnight. If you're my 38 years old me today, telling me to change something that I've been doing my entire life, I'm not going to get that done in no 5 days, not no 30 days, not no 6-week board and train. It's going to take me maybe half my life again to fix something that I've been doing my entire life. I might not fix problems that I have today that I'm working on to get through fears and insecurities. I might be 48, 45, or 55 years old by the time I get through it. Working on it and starting today now. It's not just going to be no 6-week board and train. And that's the thing that we just have to understand and have to do to actually get something, I want to say, is in a good place. Not in a place that it's just, it's you're always nervous and you're always worried. And that's where we want to be, is in a neutral stance, not in a positive sense. That's why giving something a positive, wanting to keep it in a positive, you're headed for failure, because you're playing with. So for us, we're playing, I don't know, with the dogs, I have to do a little more research on the dopamine and all that stuff with the dogs, but I'm pretty sure they got all that the same way we do. And the cortisol and all that. I know they got the cortisol response and all that, but we're playing with all of those chemicals, makeups in the body that we need not to be playing with. That's where you end up becoming addicts. That's why for me, I personally still see, I don't care what anybody's got to say, a lot of dogs that I see that are heavy on treat-based training, trying to get them to do all these tricks and cues and commands. So the main thing I want to say with that is not doing it for fun, to just make videos and just have fun, but doing it to think that you need that for your dog to be reliable, to take it in public and take it to places. There's a big difference here. When you're doing it in your house, just making tricks and playing, there's no expectations. There's no demands. There's no nothing. It's just, we're just waving and rolling and get your dog to do 1,000 tricks. Cool. But if you think that you're training a sit, a down, a heel, a place, all this, so that the dog will be able to function for you, that's where I see that the dogs start to become addicts. They become addicts, because we're playing with all of that chemical makeup in that dog to force it into something that is destructive. All we want the dogs to do is be neutral, complete, just straight neutral. That's all we want them to be. And we want to use a positive to get away from the negative to keep the dog in a neutral. And neutral is something that, unfortunately, we as humans today see as being not all that exciting. We watch these, man, y'all just running around in the rain out there? my dogs is beasts, man. They just don't care. They you can get off me though. They some animals, for real animals, man. I'm too sheltered to compare to what these guys are. It's cold out here again now, and it's raining right now. And they just still out there like, I'm gonna still go check it out and see what's going on back there. They beast mode. I appreciate my dog. This is my Dalmatian over here, curled up, sitting here trying to get warm. She's not like that. She's like me in a way. She's real real sheltered. Oh, nice and warm, nice and warm. But when we see dogs, so for instance, you see a dog that looks like this right here. You're like, oh, that poor baby, look at her. This is calm. This is just relaxed. I mean, she's cold right now, so she's actually shivering a little bit. But I'm good. This is relaxed. This is just chilling. This is just hanging out. But what we see, like, especially like on this YouTube, a lot of trainers are showing their dogs. These dogs are so intense. They're just like freaking tongues hanging way out, just they're extra breathing. Their eyes are like huge and half a bloodshot. And we think like, oh, I want my dog to be like that. That is not a healthy stance to be in. That is something that we only want to see like maybe for 2 or 3 minutes out of the day, but not even. You don't want your dog to stay in that stance because it starts to become addicted to that stance. And that's where you're going to start to struggle with getting that dog to be able to relax, because all it knows is this extreme, like, euphoria type mindset, that it doesn't know how to just be calm. And being calm is the stance of it's very, very predictable. Oh, for you taking up my whole camera shot. You shivering and everything. You ready to go inside. this dog, as long as he's walking, she's fine outside when it's cold. But if we just sitting out here, she get to shivering. She got to curl up. She's trying to get on shadow. She's trying to curl up next to anybody, anything to try to get warm. It's pretty interesting. These short-haired dogs, they're not meant for survival, for sure. They need us as humans. Small dogs, like basically 20 pounds and below, and short-haired dogs, I think that they require human intervention to keep them stay alive. These other dogs, like this dog here, he might be a little bit too big, but y'all wet on wet. And the Border Collie, they are the right size to be able to just live and survive and be fine. So I got way off topic because this dog is it's just funny to see the differences in animals. But how she is and how I see her all the time is just calm, and calm is very, very predictable. It's very, very dependable. That's what I can say straight up about a man and a woman on this planet. A calm man, a calm woman is very predictable, is not sporadic, is not erratic on, I'm going to go run off and do this, I'm going to go run off to, no, calm is where we want to maintain. I don't want to one day be on, I'm not sure what's happening, and then the next day, oh, the world is over with. That's what, unfortunately, most human beings are living in right now. I mean, the medical scientists have terms and everything they like to use with all this stuff, but I believe that every single person has something from these medical terms that they put out there, like the narcissist, a depressed, anxiety, bipolar, schizophrenic, borderline personality disorder, all of these things. Every single human has characteristics of all of that. All of it. Some people go to the extreme that's what we'll classify and say clinically diagnose you with. But all of us have something in there. And that's the part, in my mind, in my opinion today, with what I'm really, Ophi, go lay down, girl. With what I'm really trying to be able to understand is once you hit that stable level of calm, all of that disappears. And in my brain, that's my life goal, is to be calm, to make sure that none of that comes in. That no matter what's going on, I'm good to go. Thank you. Girl, if you're cold, get out of the rain. Y'all all not too, nope. Y'all all too wet for me now. You go lay in the hay. I don't know why you got so dirty again. In the bath, on bath. My dogs get so dirty when it's cold out, and then I can't give them a bath because I feel bad because it's cold out. And I'm like, I don't want to get y'all wet because it's cold out. Some things that, man, I don't know what it is. I heard that guy say that like maybe about a week ago now. There's nothing positive on this lands. Everything is negative and neutral. That really got me thinking. It like put me into deep thought of even what B.F. Skinner states about what is positive reinforcement. Positive reinforcement is nothing to do with getting positive. It is everything to do with getting away from a negative. That's why you're trying to get into a positive, you're wrong. You're wrong. It's impossible. And not say impossible, but it's impossible to sustain. You're going to have issues. You're gonna have burnout. You're gonna stumble. You can't stay in that. That our brains can't function in that. All we can function in is neutral, is a calm stance. And I've been thinking about that so much with these dogs. And I just watched the differences of how I train and work with each of these dogs, and seeing just the why they're doing what they're doing. Why does this dog no longer chase a single thing anymore? Unless I'm saying, let's go do this. Let's go. So if I'm sitting down, I'm doing what I'm doing. If I'm even walking out here, moving what I've been doing, moving mulch and stuff out here like crazy, that's some hard work. That's just hard work. But she has zero desire to chase a single thing, as opposed to the day when I brought her here, she would have killed everything. She would have killed all the chickens, and because that's what she did. First rampage is just because she would attempt to eat it, but then when she see another one running, she's like, I gotta go get that one as well. She was just going from one to one to one. That was just her life. To now today, she has absolutely zero desire to go take off at him. Zero. She has no care. She is completely calm. I bring her in the chicken coops with me. Oreo could be moving them around, and she just looks at him like, that's your work. I'm not even. They're running and bucking and clucking. She has zero desire to engage with any at all, any. And I've never looked at her and said, no, you better not do that. I put her around it and allowed her to just get through it day after day after day after day. I allowed her to just deal with all that emotion going on inside of her. And then she turned to the point of, no, I don't care. I don't care. And now I don't have to worry. And now even if she does, like for instance, on the trails, she has extreme drive in her still. I didn't just take that out of her because I use it when we're running. So if I'm running and she's ahead of me, she has free game to chase and do what she does, but she just can't go far because she's hooked up on my leash. But it's very interesting that even when I am full running and chasing and going, I could say, hey, Ophi, wait. Hey, come here. Hey, let's stop. I don't care what words I use. She slows down. She looks at me and she's like, okay, I'll stop. She could be full engaged at staring at deer, like I want to go take off at it, and I could say, we're not doing that. And she just stops. She looks back. She's like, okay. And then we move on. No weirdness behind it. No, nothing behind it. She just knows because it's just normal to her at this moment. It's very normal to her. That's where I want all my dogs to be, is neutral. I don't want them to be positive. They're gonna constantly keep messing up. And they're going to constantly keep messing up if they're in a negative. That's Johnny with my cows. He's in a negative stance because he's scared of them. I'm working to get him into a neutral stance with them. Kahi is pretty neutral. Ophi is, she's a little nervous, but she knows if I don't mess with them, they don't mess with me. So she's so close to being neutral. Where Johnny's still scared. And Oreo, he's so indifferent to the animals that he could do whatever he did. They could be chasing him, and he could look back at it like, buddy, like, we ain't doing that right now. And he just walk away. He's so indifferent, but he's been around these animals, but his gene line has been around animals forever. Like, who knows how many generations. I mean, he came from a line like, what, at this point today, 70 years back and more. So they've all just been born and raised with animals. That's just who he is. He's exceptionally indifferent to any animal, anything, any dogs, anything running, anything. He could just look at it. He's just like, oh, there we go. But if I say, hey, let's go get it, he's like, let's go. He'll go full engaged and just go absolutely insane. And that's where I want them to be. Sorry, you want to check this out. These little ones are just so darn cute. I don't know if you can see them or not. This is the one that Johnny keeps running up to because it looks like him. So he's like, is that a dog? Like, what is that thing? And it actually walks up to us. So Johnny kind of gets, I want to do something with it. So I'm working on Johnny now with this specific little girl on getting him to be indifferent with them because she's not so flighty. The other ones are flighty. And so for her being so small still, she's not in that sense of like wanting to fight all that much. It takes them a little bit until they get to that, like, that they gotta do some craziness. And so I'm using that one to help my Johnny to say, hey man, we're just hanging out with them. Stop messing with them. Stop chasing them. Stop being scared of them. Stop being nervous with them. There's nothing to be nervous about. So every single day, I'm putting him around this cow over and over and over and over and over and over again. At some point, he's going to look at him and just say, hey, how's it going? And then he's going to have zero desire to care to want to chase them at all. today compared to where I was, I mean, much, 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 much better. But here's the thing. I'm talking about doing stuff that's going to take some time. So, and each dog is different. It could have been 5 minutes for this dog if someone else's dog. But my dog, with what's going on, it's just a couple months here now. I'm at, what, like 3, 4, or 5 months or so at this moment that I'm getting somewhere. And then hopefully 3 or 4 months from now, I'm at the point that things are just good to go. And I'm fine with that. That's the part that I want to explain to most people. It's not the dog, it's us. We have these expectations that are what I want to say is unrealistic. And we put realistic expectations out there and realistic understanding of what we're actually looking for and what we actually want. You're going to end up being able to get it.